if you take a younger version of myself back in 2008,
Mm-hmm.
who took the approach that like everything's going to be okay, and no, like don't worry about it, we'll get through this. Um, it didn't work out quite the way I had foreseen it, right?
Mm.
And you know, the insulation of the Canadian market kind of disappeared for a while, right? And although our markets dropped about what 19% over average Canadian prices have dropped 18.9% off of peak. Like this thing's chugging along like nothing happened. Like
Mm-hmm.
nothing's going on. Like even though prices came down, this thing is still kind of grooving. If there was more inventory, there'd be more sales, right? And if there were more sales, the prices may be going up faster than that. Like they're already going up. What the fuck is going on? How is this thing
It was
still
the greatest
going?
downturn we've had in decades.
The
It's
biggest downturn
yeah,
like in
40
forever,
years
right?
probably.
There's
Yeah.
nothing going on.
Or 30 years.
Meanwhile, prices are steady and they're actually rising in some places.
Yeah.
And somehow people can afford the mortgages on these things. And
Mm-hmm.
you think that many people, they just have $1 million sitting in the bank that they can drop so that they can afford a monthly payment on a $1.5 million house? Like,
Not
because
my
if you
clients.
have the 500,000 and you need to borrow the million, that's
Yeah.
$6 grand a month or something, or
Every,
7 grand a month.
yeah. Most of the people that I'm dealing with are selling a property that has the equity in it already. Right. And so it's very, very sensitive to the price that they pay is very sensitive to the price that they sell for. Right. Like there is no flexibility where they're saying to me, oh, don't worry, we'll just pull in an extra couple hundred. Like before, I think what was happening was people were just like, look, I want to upgrade. That's my goal. If I have to add 100,000 to my mortgage, I'm okay with that. But now the conversations I'm having are the people that are like, I don't want to change anything that my situation is. I want to change my house. Some of them, it just doesn't make sense. They just can't do it.
What
But
does
they're
that
like,
look like, though?
they're, well, for example, so somebody wants to go, guy I met this week, he's 4-bedroom, 2-story house in Thornhill. It's probably in the 1.5 range. He owes very little money on it. He's been there for a long time. He's a baby boomer and
Yeah.
he wants to go into something like a townhouse or a condo and be mortgage free, but still be in the area that he wants to be in.
So what do
Right.
you do nowadays? Do you sell first? Because
You sell first for
you
sure.
sell first,
You
and
go
do
out
you?
and you go out and you look, you figure out what's out there, you make sure that you understand what you're dealing with. You make sure that you've seen like multiple properties that are actually going to meet your needs, right? Because there's needs here. He's got different things going on in his
But it
life that
won't
he
be
needs
around when you're ready to buy.
multiple ones, not just one. So like,
There's
and then you
nothing.
figure out how picky the client is too. Because I'm dealing with another client who we're going to buy first
But can't
because
you get caught really easily right now without a home? Like you can't rent fuck all, and you can't buy anything. Like there's
so I mean
nothing.
the risk isn't as great as you think it is. I mean, I think my opinion would be that more inventory is coming to the market, right? And that, if you're going to be sitting on the market for months, the risk would be higher if you bought first and then you couldn't sell because the market changes because you got all this inventory.
But you
So I
can
always ask a
bank on
very
that,
tough question. I say, what do you fear most, being broke or homeless?
right? You say that all the time.
And so
So,
if
but
someone says that, well, you know what, money is really important to me, then it says, well, let's sell first because we'll know exactly how much money we have before we buy. You
you
might
can
have to be
get a
homeless
hotel
for
or something if you
a
have
month or
to.
two. I don't know, but you'll be okay financially. If someone says, look, I got my sick mother with me, I can't go, bouncing around. I can only move once. I got a dog, whatever. Then it's like the risk you take buying first is that, the house may be worth less when we come to sell it, but we eliminate risk by buying and selling as close to possible, as close together as possible. So don't have a 2-week, 3-week gap between the time you buy and sell. You should
And
be
you
ready to go in
and, and if
days.
you and if you sell first, you got to be ready to maybe rent or couch
Well,
surf for
you
a
need a
little
long
while or something.
closing and you should have been scouting out the place. Like you should have a pretty good idea that there's like a lot of options out there. And if you have multiple, like,
Are
at least
there?
a 90-day closing, well, that's what you do with the client. So for this particular client, there is, we're going to go out and look at some
Lots of options.
townhouses and that there's like, and he's not picky at all. He's kind of just like, as long as it has this, and this, I'm good. So he's the ideal person to
Right.
sell first. And his situation is not one that he should be buying first either. Too much risk there.
I would be so
because
nervous to
he's so
buy first right
he's
now.
so focused on, you know, mortgage free and all these type of things. So you don't want to be putting him in a situation where he has to take out a loan again. It wouldn't make sense to move.
It is an interesting
So that's
time
a
to have
buyer.
to make these big decisions. I'll tell you.
But he doesn't have $1 million in the bank. It's
Doesn't
locked up in everybody's homes, and so we don't even really talk about the equity as much as you would as a down payment. You know, it's more about just like the whole picture here. It's like after we go from here and you net this, here's what you're going to need to close over there, and here's your situation once you're all said and done. Is this okay with you? And then they say yes or no. You know, I'm comfortable having an extra
do,
200 grand, because sometimes there's a big equity
they end
pull.
up with a bigger mortgage, right?
Or sometimes it's a mortgage. So it's depending on
Or
equity
they end
pull.
up with
I
a
walk away with
mortgage instead of no
200K, great.
mortgage.
Or you walk away, like younger couples, especially, they're going to say, you know, my mortgage right now is 400. When I move in there, after it's all said and done, my mortgage will be, you know, close to that. And I'm happy. And then you work things out. You go through amortization, you go through payments, variable, like, you know, you go through all that stuff with them. So then they can see the whole picture.
So much
But it
work
wasn't
now,
like this before.
TK.
Exactly.
So
It
much
wasn't like
work
this
now.
before.
What the
Everyone's
fuck?
like, yeah, just get an extra $100,000 on the mortgage. I already went to the Scotiabank calculator online. I can afford it.
Yeah, it's like
$420 a month extra. I'm good.
yeah.
Let's go get the Park View.